Right, let's talk about videos, chat. I know nothing about black mages, but I found one of these videos. I found one of these fucking videos, and I just want to see how seething are the more competent black mages are about the black mage changes. It's like I just want to understand what the fuck is the problem. Because, like, a lot of black mages are telling me that they're fucking fine. The other half of the black mages are telling me that Black Mage is now a disappointment and it's ruined. It's a guy. No, it's not. Don Trail Black Mage Media Tour Analysis. Disappointing! So let's see.
Hey everyone. With the Media Tour embargo
This is a video by Explosion.
being lifted a few days ago, let's dive deeper into the changes made to Black Mage and discuss changes to openers, single target, and AoE rotations. Before I start, you should know that this video might have a negative tone in some parts. If you follow me on social media, you'll already know I'm not a huge fan of some of the Black Mage changes. And if you're not ready to hear criticism of a job before it's released, then you should probably just stop watching now. Of course, as with all media tours, everything is subject to change. This means potency, numbers, as well as even skill effects themselves. A great example of this is the Endwalker Media Tour. What was the difference between Media Tour Black Mage and Endwalker Black Mage? In the release build for Endwalker, we saw Paradox.
Skip to 1153 for his thoughts. Changes to existing stuff, new traits and abilities, into the changes. My thoughts and changes. Oh, yeah, good point. Let's go.
Next, as for my thoughts on all of these changes, it really seems that they're trying to shoehorn Black Mage into playing this very specific playstyle of casting 6 Fire 4s every fire phase. This is apparent when Flare Star is only gained when capping the gauge, and only Fire 4 fills the gauge in single target. Also, you cannot carry Astral Gauge once you swap elements, so you can't do short fire lines without losing a usage of Flare Star. I hate this because one of the things I liked most about Black Mage and Endwalker was that the possibilities were nearly endless. There were a lot of creative things you could do. In my opinion, the job is not very flexible anymore. Let's say that the boss is going to disappear in 10 seconds and you are just entering Ice Phase with Blizzard 3. It's Endwalker. What do you do next? Probably after your Blizzard 3, you use Paradox, Fire 3, and get as many Fire 4s off as you can before he disappears. You could skip Blizzard 4 and Endwalker since it's a weak spell, and you didn't need the hearts since the boss was going to disappear anyways. Okay, now it's Dawntrail, and you're in the same situation. You cast Blizzard 3, and you have to cast Blizzard 4 because you need it to get mana. Then you cast Fire 3 and then some Fire 4s off. It's a worse of a situation than before, again because you don't have Paradox for the damage, and you get no mana from Paradox even if it did exist. Then you have to think of fights with down for the count like elements that prevent you from casting Umbral Soul. Think P8S Ego Death for example, where the downtime is just over 15 seconds, just long enough to lose Enochian. To maximize your damage output in Endwalker, you would want to end that phase with a Despair and quickly transpose to Ice so that you would gain mana during the cutscene.
Yeah.
And you can start your rotation again from max mana during the Phoenix double damage phase, usually either by using a Fire proc or swifting a Fire 3. But now in Dawntrail, you would have to sacrifice damage because you are forced to use a Blizzard 3 and Blizzard 4 as your last GCDs before the cutscene. Because if
Chad, I might not be like, I don't know, like he talked about versatility, but so far it all mainly sounds like he's unhappy that he can't keep casting Fire Force. Am I misunderstanding something here? Because it sounds like he sounds like a warrior would be sounding if they had to cast less Fell Cleaves. I get that their rotation has adjusted and the whole mana ticking aspect is gone now, and they are forced to cast some spells from, you know, the ice side, but it's like I don't know, honestly. I genuinely don't know. It's like it doesn't feel that bad. Mind you, I'm not an avid Black Mage player, but this just doesn't feel that bad to me. And from all the explanations I'm hearing so far, they're just unhappy about certain parts of the rotation. I'm not even sure if like the versatility is gone as he claims. He can choose when he can cast them. Now he's forced to cast full rotation and cannot choose to cut rotation short for instant damage but lower mana pool. Okay. Hmm. So, are we sure there's like no way to adjust that? Because like, I feel like the rotation isn't that, you know, static. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I get like a lot of high-end black mages aren't happy because their optimization aspect is kind of has been numbed, but I don't know.
If you ended on Despaired and Transposed, you are not gaining any mana beyond the passive 200 MP every 3 seconds that every job gets. This is only enough to swift cast a Blizzard 3, again forcing you into a specific reopener. I'm also imagining things like the end of Phase 5 on top, where in some groups you may need to push your damage very hard to meet the 20% DPS check. Even though you can Despair and Transpose and gain little bits of mana before the downtime cutscene with passive MP regeneration, it still locks you into an Ice Reopener in Phase 6, which removes player options. The Umbralized Paradox change, in my opinion, I think is universally disliked. Paradox was such a cool spell.
Wait, hold on. Which one was the previous one? Which one is the current one? I don't know if these like deals effect refresh the duration of Astral Fire and 40% to Grand Fire Starter. Next will require no time to cast and cost no MP. Spell is cast immediately, requires no MP to cast, refreshes the duration of Umbral Ice. I'm guessing the one on the right is the current one. Also, wait, hold on. Yeah, I'm guessing. Gauge the markers made active after reaching Umbral Ice 3. Getting through Umbral Hearts. Right is Dawntrail, yeah. Grants Astral Fire, Fire Starter. Okay. Am I bugging? Like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem that bad.
While having different uses.
Just because, like, you have a static rotation, it's like... I don't know. I feel like people are gonna figure something out. It's like, that's still the aspect of black mages. They're not gonna be the static job that has, like, a 2-minute rotation and burst every 2 minutes.
Is in Astral Fire and Umbral Ice. This change is even getting a lot of flack on the official Square Enix JP forums as well, so I'm wondering if it's going to make it through the release build or if it will change at some point in the opening patches, like how they added back Scholar's Energy Drain or Samurai's Hagakure. It seems so unnecessary that they removed it. What's the harm in keeping this ability? It really did feel like they thought the player base would not need Paradox anymore since Blizzard 4 would give max mana in a standard rotation. This spell was really nice to cast, and high damage, and the utility on it being an instant cast, being able to weave and move was great. Also, on the side, let me say that I am fine with them removing the mana tick system. I was already ready for this to happen, and I even predicted something.
See, this is what I was kind of annoyed with. At one point, I did consider, like, trying to learn black mages, right? But then I see all these streamers that I wanted to kind of learn from, and I see them, like, almost all of them use this mana ticker that you see, like, right next to me on the screen. And it's like, it kind of turned me off, because, like, the fact that I need extra tools just to play a job, it's like, it's already kind of like, I don't know. Not my cup of tea.
Something like this would happen in my last video. I think it's just stupid that beyond this, they made several other changes to effectively neuter any sort of rotation that is not the bread and butter 6 Fire 4s in your fire phase. It's a loss of flexibility to adapt to different conditions of a fight. I think a lot of people are misinformed about MP server ticks. You did not need third-party mana tick plugins or trackers to do basic non-standard lines. In fact, many of them were guaranteed
Basic non-standard lines.
to work, no matter what. Like, for example, using Despair into Xenoglossy, weaving Transpose, then using Umbralized Paradox, a Thunder proc, and then Xenoglossy, then transposing to Astral Fire 1, using a Fire 3 proc, and then 3 Fire 4s and a Despair. This always worked. It didn't matter if you were a spell speed build or a crit build, it would just work. You didn't need a tracker. The only purpose of a tracker was to build extremely scripted rotations or make very specific openers work consistently 100% of the time, that basically only a few people like speedrunners even bothered doing.
I wouldn't say it's like very few people. You gotta understand, like, that there is like a particular novelty about playing the black mage job. Because it's like, black mage is the heart of this job, etc., etc. Black Mage is like also one of the staple jobs of like Final Fantasy series in general. So it's like Black Mage fans are gonna want to commit to it. And a lot of people who want to learn, like at this point, majority of the people who want to learn to play Black Mage, they specifically want to learn it for high-end content. Nobody wants to play Black Mage specifically for the roleplay aspect. Well, there are some people. Let's be honest, but majority of people do like all the Black Mages I've met. All the Black Mages I've raided with in both casual, mid-core, more high-end, semi-hardcore statics. Everyone, I've seen like very few Black Mages that didn't want to at some point have the goal to be a great, phenomenal Black Mage, and then, but for that they need the ticker. Like, just saying you don't need the ticker is not, again, you're saying you don't need the ticker. But people will use the ticker because it helps, because the novelty of playing the Black Mage is still out there. People will still want to play. Like Pint. Literally Pint. Yeah. Didn't he swap to Red Mage? Every time I see his streams, I know he was like raiding with some streamers as well, some VTubers. I saw him on Red Mage as well. I didn't see any Black Mage. Black Mage is fun and all, but it's like, you gotta understand, like, most people who go for Black Mage, they're aiming to specifically to push it towards high end and to be, the great. Like, I had so many Black Mages give me the spiel about how they want to become one of the best Black Mages. They want to push to be the greatest fucking Black Mage possible. And all these spiels always happen specifically when I'm telling them, stop griefing. Stop griefing. You can't keep griefing us in fucking top P1. Stop it. What the fuck is happening? I don't care about your spiel. Can you either improve or swap jobs? And a lot of these players, like, they didn't want to budge. They did not want to play safer. They wanted to specifically optimize damage, and as a result, would grief a lot of groups. And this isn't just like this is a whole thing. I fucking got into a Frosty drama as well, because Black Mages came into my group and start optimizing around either strangers or where they didn't need to fucking optimize, forcing a lot of other players to fucking get hit by mechanics and wipe. I kicked out multiple Black Mages because they repeatedly kept eating tank busters, either on Phoenix, on P4S. For some reason, like, they were just where they shouldn't be. And even those players will have the fucking meta ticker. The novelty annoyingly still there. You don't need the meta ticker, I'll agree there. If you know your job enough and you can just at least like semi-freestyle, you're fine. But like, most of these people will go for a meta ticker. Most of these people will try to look into what other players do. They'll see someone stream and they think, I fucking need that shit. Gimme. I mean, learning Black Mage starts with being shit damage and safe as fuck to then push the bar further and further. That is a good way of looking at it. That is how Prog works. Like, even in World First or in Prog, when they go into the fight, they mitigate the fuck out of mechanics, and then with every pull, they slowly take off cooldowns and reassign those cooldowns to other places, right? That's how Prog works. But a lot of these Black Mages just immediately start fucking optimizing mid-Prog. They immediately try to, like, have a fucking rotation, and it's like, so many. Look, at this point, I've given Black Mages so many fucking chances, only for them to tell me weeks later that they finally figured out a rotation. Finally. Sometimes they won't. Oh, fuck. It's so annoying. Sometimes Black Mages are asked me to give them the healer spot in top for P1. So the healer would have to adjust for others, and the mage would potentially have less movement. I don't know. It's so weird. It's like there's so much requirement to make a fucking Black Mage work, and a lot of the, like, again, I'm gonna reiterate, not everyone is like this, but majority of people in the mid core to high end are gonna be close to this. They specifically are playing Black Mage to push Black Mage to that particular point of optimizing damage, and a lot of them are just undisciplined to play Black Mage in Prog specifically. Like, they will by sheer reflex, they don't have enough utility to have like some sense of like playing safe, offering utility for prog. No, the only thing they can do during prog essentially is try to optimize, but their optimization will potentially can also grief prog. This whole rant, to be fair, does not apply to high-end raiders who have played Black Mage long enough to know what the fuck they're doing. This is essentially towards the topic of not needing a ticker. Because a lot of the people will still want to play Black Mage and they will see the ticker and they think, I need the ticker. Most of them will just have it. They're not exactly spreadsheeting their rotation, but most of them will have it.
Next, Flare Star. While I thought it looked kind of cool, is very underwhelming looking at it now. I know the potencies are not final in the Mediator build, but I'm curious why even the Mediator build has it at 350. For a level 100 ultimate capstone, I was thinking that it would have a lot more impact.
Deals fire target and all enemies with potency. I kind of agree on this. Like, every job has like very big fucking like finishers, like even healers, like when they'd use their, you know, change stratagem, or Astro when Astro uses Macrocosmos, they're like GCD that follows with that is like 600. Why Black Mages have just an extra fucking 350? I don't know, 350 is like very little. They definitely need to do something about that.
It doesn't feel as snappy as Despair, and honestly, since its potency is not that much greater than Despair, it doesn't feel as bad if you were to lose it somehow. For a level 100 spell, it feels like it should be just as strong or stronger than Xenoglossy. I'm also wondering about if it had slightly lower base potency but gained more potency per stack of Astral Soul that you had, which will let you cast it at lower stacks. This could potentially let you use it even if you screwed up in your fire phase, or allow it to be used in short fire lines potentially. Of course, there are a few options here. Mana Font, although really nice that it got a much needed upgrade, still has issues in that it is extremely easy to drift. The intended usage of Mana Font is after a fire phase where you've used up all of your mana. So if you are in the middle of your fire phase, for example, and Mana Font is off cooldown, you'll have to wait around 10 to 15 seconds before you can even think about pressing it. These little bits of time add up and it can result in losing a Mana Font in the fight. I mentioned it in my previous video, but I think if Mana Font had a cooldown reduction to 110 or even 100 seconds, then it could maybe help this part of Black Mage out. In Endwalker, since we weren't locked to only doing the standard rotation, we could use different combinations of shorter fire lines in order to make it Mana Font come up at a favorable time, like right after a Despair. And we didn't have to burn excess resources or drift.
You know what I think it is? A lot of these changes, the more I'm listening about them, same with Astro as well. I feel like Square Enix is trying to encourage newer players towards the jobs at higher level, so the jobs are a bit more approachable by them. I get it, like the flexibility lost, new wacky non-standard openers are not used. But yeah, it's like, I think it's like, it's them trying to encourage people to play other jobs and not be constantly discouraged by difficulty. Because a lot of people didn't want to play Astro because of the RNG aspect, and sometimes, you know, your performance can, even if you play perfectly, your performance can rely on RNG sometimes. It's like, some people were not a fan of that. Same with Black Mages. Black Mages were at a point where people thought it's either the psychopaths that are very high-end and play only Black Mage for the past 7 years that can play Black Mage, or it's just really, really bad Black Mage players, like the ones I mentioned earlier. It's like, obviously there are players in between who are good, but it's like, there's too many of both at the top and the bottom, and that is like a general consensus about Black Mages that has been created among like the community. So I'm guessing Square Enix is also trying to kind of encourage people to just also try harder jobs like this. That would kind of make sense.
Mana Font significantly. But in Dawntrail, since you are basically forced to do the standard rotation and nothing else, it will be a lot harder to keep Mana Font off cooldown. Essentially, Square Enix's options here are to lower the cooldown, or add an XCOG effect so that you can pop Mana Font early and it will trigger once you reach 0 mana. But even that XCOG effect can be a detriment in some situations where you want to burn Xenos in Astral Fire for raid buffs after a Despair and Flare Star, and then use the Mana Font as your Astral Fire refresher. Lastly, of course, as I predicted, they seem to have looked over the leveling experience for Black Mage yet again. By removing the large mana ticks you get in Umbralized 1, 2, and 3, and not moving Umbral Soul to a lower level, I am struggling to see how this is supposed to help new players or players running Black Mage in lower level content like dungeons or old ultimates. For example, Black Mage was already bad enough in UCOB and Ultima Weapon Ultimate.
We don't know if... Can we actually confirm that a lot of these spells are gone? And that there's no way to restore mana on, like, older ultimates? Because I see a lot of, like, Black Mages both tell me, like, they're fine in ultimates, level 70. And some people are saying that Black Mage is gonna be unplayable in level 70 ultimates. I can't really get a fucking idea. I doubt Square Enix thought, like, they probably don't need these spells at lower levels. I'm sure there's something there. I'm not sure what, but it's like... Nullifies Astral Fire's MP cost, increases of fire spells, reduces MP cost of Flare by 1/3, restores an amount of mana commensurate with your stacks of Umbral Ice.
Ultimate, but now not being able to generate mana in the downtime means you are quite literally forced into casting Blizzard 3 and Blizzard 4 before every trio, which lowers your damage even more.
The more I'm listening to this, I'm not sure... At this point, I'm just not even sure what they're complaining about. They're either complaining that the job became easier, or they're complaining that you need to plan your rotation a lot better, especially around downtimes, so you can reopen after. I get that mana ticks equal more damage after, but planning your rotation could be a lot more fun, question mark, maybe? I don't know, it's like, don't at me, because I'm not a avid Black Mage player, I just know, like, the general basics of it. But it's hard to tell. It's like, maybe I should try. Maybe I should just take Black Mage into Ubu or UCOB and see for myself once Dawn Trail comes out. It's hard to tell, honestly.
It's honestly insane to me that they did not lower the acquisition level of Umbral Soul, and I think this is one thing they really need to do to help the job.
More like, it's no way to plan rotation anymore. It's always static. I mean... Like, how static are we talking about here? Is there literally just, like, no way to move any spells around? Is it just going to be a 1, 2, 3 every 2 minutes rotation? Like the rest of the jobs? Or is there actually some room for adjustment? Because, like, I refuse to believe that, like, they made such changes to make Black Mages a 2-minute job with a static rotation like the rest of the jobs. I kind of refuse to believe that. I'm sure people will figure out something, or Square Enix still has something to add to the Black Mages that just wasn't in the Media Tour. Because Media Tour is still an older patch. Because every person on Media Tour did say that the patch is like 3 months old or some shit. Chances are they have changed some things.
Job in its lower level range.
But that's, you know, copium, obviously.
Okay, now that we've got part of the rant over with, let's discuss some optimization. In the live letter, Yoshi P said that we should look out for new things to optimize. We of course took him up on this challenge. So what kind of optimizations can a Black Mage do in this current Media Tour build in order to do more damage? Of course, there's the Astral Fire 1, Fire 3 proc standard line we can do. As mentioned previously, this takes a Fire 3 proc that you previously generated and uses it in Astral Fire 1 to act as your transition spell, bringing you to Astral Fire 3. Let's quickly recap why this is a gain. In Scenario 1, you will use the Fire 3 proc in Astral Fire 3. Then, you will enter your next Fire phase with a Fire 3 cast from Umbralized 3. The Fire 3 proc is 280 potency times the 1.8 damage multiplier, giving 504 potency. Then, the Fire 3 from Umbralized 3 is 280 potency times the 0.7 multiplier, giving 196 potency. This is a total of 700 potency in 2 GCDs, or 5 seconds, for 140 potency per second. In Scenario 2...
It's fine. I don't know any opener discussion what a single is left. AoE, non-standard AoE. I don't know enough about Black Mage to kind of listen to the rest of this. Let me hear the closing thoughts and wish list.
In summary, as you may have guessed, I am not a huge fan of the changes they made to Black Mage. The few things I'd like to see implemented are, number 1, Umberlice Paradox is added back to the game. Number 2, Despair now grants Flare Star stacks, at least 2 of them. Number 3, Flare Star and High Thunder potencies are increased, and this is likely to happen anyway since Meteor stuff is never really final. Number 4, and this one's kind of a long shot, any GCD cast in Ice will generate mana, not just Ice spells. And number 5, some sort of cooldown reduction for mana font, even by 10 seconds to help alleviate mana font drift. I don't think I'm alone in saying that these changes hurt a lot of high-end Black Mage optimization. I've heard that a lot of the changes have been disliked overseas in Japanese and Chinese communities as well, so I'm hoping that some of this feedback.
But are we still talking about high-end? Because again, it could just go back to the theory that they're just trying to introduce the level 100 Black Mage to players who were discouraged previously to play them. Because, like, I don't know. I know a lot of people are also shitposting about this as well, but
back makes its way up the chain. And for my fellow raiders and content creators who seem to enjoy bashing Black Mage players who are frustrated and seemingly reveling in the loss of complexity that the job had, we are just frustrated that the job is less flexible than ever before. If you feel the need to be happy that Black Mage is losing options because that's what's happening to everyone else, then I hope you can find your happiness elsewhere. I really enjoy playing Black Mage, and I will continue to play it in Dawntrail and make guides for the job, but if this is all that we have to work with, a lot of the fun factor for me personally has been removed. The overall trend in most jobs has been simply...
He does have a point. Well, no, it's not a point, but it's like... The reason I'm watching this is because I'm trying to get more clarity on whether or not I can understand why some people are both happy and some people are both sad about the change to Black Mage. But yeah, if some people are just literally just like, you know, wheezing at like, oh no, the Black Mages are fuming, laughs in Summoner, don't do that. Don't be one of those people. Be nice. Behave.
Simplification. And Black Mage, one of the last bastions of optimization, seemed to have been the one in sights for Square Enix this expansion. I think it definitely shows that the type of gameplay we had in Endwalker with non-standard is not going to be acceptable on any job in the future, and we're kind of forced to play the job the way Square Enix sets out for us. It's disappointing, to say the least. Thanks for watching.
Okay. I got kind of a general idea about why they're unhappy about Black Mage, but I'm still kind of iffy on it. I kind of get an idea, but I can't say I respect or... Well, not respect, but like I can relate to that idea of unhappiness. It could be because I mainly play tanks and healers, and our rotations are, you know, 3 buttons. And we essentially, the only thing we do optimize is defensives. That was an interesting video to at least listen through. Can't say I'm an avid, you know, yes man towards the Black Mages, but that was still a very interesting video to kind of hear out. Because it's important to hear out everyone. Even if you don't exactly understand what their frustrations are, if they can explain it in a more approachable way to understand ideas, I guess that you could kind of support their frustrations a bit better.